So now let's talk about you as a remote PIC, a pilot in command, is responsible for. So the first responsibility is that you have final authority. Okay? The remote PIC has the final authority and responsibility for the operation and safety of the SUAS. Okay? Anything bad happens, it's on you. That's what they're trying to say. Okay? But you also have the authority to shut things down. Okay? Say weather changes. You can tell the crew, hey, we're not fine now, shut it down. Okay? So you have full authority. Okay, number 2 is see and avoid. The remote PIC also has a responsibility to remain clear of and yield right of way to all other aircraft, manned or unmanned. Okay? And avoid other potential hazards that may affect the remote PIC's operations of the aircraft. This is traditionally referred to as see and avoid. Okay, we're going to talk about this more in the later lessons, but basically you want to remain clear of all other aircrafts. Okay, the next thing is that you're also responsible for the crew. Okay, the remote PIC must ensure all crew members who are participating in the operation are not impaired by drugs and alcohol. Pretty straightforward. You have to be responsible for the crew. Make sure they're not up to no good. Okay? Now, you also are responsible for the operating condition of the SUAS. Okay? The responsibility to inspect the small unmanned aircraft system, the SUAS, to ensure it is in a safe operating condition rests with the remote PIC. So you have to make sure your drone is in good condition and it's able to fly. Okay? So if your propeller had a nick on it and it crashes and hits somebody, it's on you. Okay, you have to make sure the drone is in a good condition to fly. Okay, and the next thing is the next responsibility you must have is maintaining visual line of sight. Okay, the remote PIC must ensure that they or their crew always maintain visual line of sight on their SUAS. The remote PIC or person manipulating the controls may have brief moments in which he or she does not have VLOS, which is visual line of sight, while the visual observer maintains VLOS. Okay, so to give you an example, you can be flying. Say you're the guy flying or the girl. Okay, you might have to look down to look at the meters to see the speed of your drone, to see the actual shot, but you must always have a visual observer maintaining visual line of sight. Okay, or you can fly yourself, but you cannot look down on your controller. Okay, so on to the next one, yield the right of way. Okay, pretty straightforward. The remote PIC must ensure that they or the person manipulating the controls yield right of way to all other aircraft, including aircraft operating on the surface of the airport. Okay, pretty straightforward. And you also, on to the next one as well, know the surroundings. Okay, know the location and flight path of his or her unmanned aircraft at all times. You have to be aware of other aircrafts, persons, or property in the vicinity of the operating area. Okay, so you have to know, 200 feet out there is another tower, or there is a field of people, right? It's maybe a music festival or something, right? You have to know what's around you and to ensure that you are flying safely. Okay, you have to know what's around you, know your surroundings. Okay, and the next thing you have to know is airspace. So we're actually going to cover a lot of this in the next lesson, but basically the remote PIC must know and understand what airspace they are operating in and seek approval from the controlling agency if approval is required. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, how to seek that approval as well in later videos. But all you have to know now is that there are certain airspaces that you can fly in, and there are certain spaces that you might be able to fly in, and there are certain airspaces that you are never allowed to fly in. Okay, we're going to talk all about that in the next lesson. Okay, and the last thing you're responsible for is a certificate of waiver. Okay? If the remote PIC determines that the operation cannot be conducted within regulatory structure of Part 107, he or she is responsible for applying for a certificate of waiver in accordance to 14 CFR Part 107.200 and proposing a safe alternative to the operation. Okay, so say you want to fly at night, which obviously you can't under Part 107. You could actually apply for a waiver to waive that clause for a certain period from the FAA. Okay, we're going to talk all about that in the next few videos. And so what you have to know now from this video is that everything falls on the remote PIC. Okay, something bad happens, you are responsible. Okay, so in our next videos, we're going to talk about the required documentation you need to have when flying your SUAS.